Hello again, team. It's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for another plan with me. In today's video, I'm going to be setting up a Term 3 timeline for myself. I like to do a spread like this every so often, in particular when I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything that's going on at school. Having a term-long timeline just lets me keep on top of when things are due, like assessments, when I have particular meetings, when we might have days off, that kind of stuff. In terms of timing, this one took about 20 minutes from first to final touches of the pen. But as always, that doesn't include penciling in, so likely a little bit longer. In terms of the questions that were left on last week's plan with me, our first one comes from Nikki Matei. Please let me know if I didn't say that right. And they've asked, my question this week is how far in advance do you plan out your new spreads? Or do you just design them in your R&D bujo when you get a chance, and go back to that journal when you want inspiration? Honestly, that would be a really good idea, but I actually don't do that. Typically, the furthest in advance that I'll plan out a spread may be like a week before. Especially when it comes to setting up for the new month, I really only do any sketching out for that maybe a week in advance max. A lot of the time I'll just use pencil and plan these directly into my regular bullet journal, but sometimes if I feel like I really want to make sure I'm getting the spacing right, what I'll use instead is Microsoft Excel. So I have a little template where I've changed the column and row widths, so they're little boxes, and then I've just counted out the number of boxes that I have across on a regular bullet journal page, and I can use that to kind of section off places and see what would fit where. I find that to be really helpful, especially for layouts where I want a lot of different elements on the page, and I'm not too sure how much space I should be giving to each of them. Our next question comes from Anita, who asked, what is the shipping like on the Archer and Olive notebooks? To be completely honest, I can't really remember. I don't think it was anything too ludicrous, but I also live in New Zealand, so it wasn't necessarily cheap. Certainly wasn't more expensive than the notebook itself, but I mean, if it was, that would be very, very alarming, so don't think that's that helpful. Easiest way to tell would probably be to go to Archer and Olive's website, put in an order but don't complete it, because it has to tell you what the price is before you complete it, so yeah. Plus then you'd probably get a more accurate value on shipping for where you're located. Courtney asked, my question for you, will you be going back to the standard white notebook after you complete this one? And will you be giving a full review on the Neapolitan notebook? Well, I can do a review if you guys want me to. And yeah, I probably will go back to a white notebook just because I really love using my Tombos, and you can't really do that on black pages. On a similar train of thought, Shania? Let me know how you're supposed to say it. They asked, I've been wondering if the blackout pages in your journal make you feel creatively restricted. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm creatively restricted, but I am certainly restricted in the materials I can use, which isn't really my favorite. As I said, I like using my Tombos. I appreciate the flexibility that comes with that in terms of picking color palettes and things like that. So in that way, I do feel a little bit restricted, but I can still make decently good looking spreads just using my gel pens. It's just that gel pens aren't really my favorite tool to use. Our next question comes from, I'm doing really great on pronunciation this week. Is it ick or itch? Or something else? I'm sorry, please do let me know. But their question was, how do you break down your goals into little steps? Do you ask yourself any kind of questions to break them down into tasks? Or do you have any other kind of method to do it? To be completely honest, this is still something that I kind of struggle with that I'm still working on. But my general strategy is trying to break it down into the smallest, most indivisible tasks. As an example that isn't necessarily goal related, but when I was at university and any time I had to write an essay, I'd make myself a planning page which had sections for my word count, which went up in either 100 or 50 words depending on how many words I had to write. So if it was 2,000 words, I'd have a little box for 100 and 200 and 300, so as I reached that many words I could cross them off. And then I'd also section it out into my paragraphs, and then also section those paragraphs into the general pieces that I want to put into those. So for instance, topic sentence, example, explanation, and link, either to the main point of the essay or to the next paragraph. So taking that big task of writing the essay and sectioning it up into these little smaller steps made it much more manageable. Of course, that's for an essay, not for goals. And it really depends on what kind of goals you're setting as to how you might break those up into smaller steps. But in terms of asking myself questions to try and break it down, one of the best things that I think I could ask myself would be, what are the next 5 smallest little steps I can take to work on this goal? And I'm talking really small things here, because all those tiny steps do add up to big progress. Something I keep trying to remind myself. Breaking goals into smaller steps though, certainly something I want to work on some more. Thank you to all of our inquirers from last week, and if you guys have any questions for next week, I would love to hear about those. Please do leave them in the comments section below. And my question for you guys this week, a little bit unrelated to all of the questions we've had today, but what is your favourite snack food? I'm finding that I'm not very creative when it comes to snacks, and I'm kind of on the lookout for some more. And here we have the finished spread. Obviously looks a little bit different to the rest of the footage because I have since gone and taped in this piece of paper just because the transfer that I was getting from one side to the other was ridiculous. And yeah, not really my favourite at all. It would just be that when these 2 pages were together, if I did any writing on either side of the page, all of the gel pen would transfer to the other side, and I honestly just got kind of sick of having to erase it every time I came back to this page. But as you can see, I have added a few more things, a couple more assessments, a couple more things coming up on the horizon. It's kind of crazy to think that we are here now, like we've passed the halfway point in the term. Obviously when I set this up it was a bit closer to the start of the term, but I have found that having everything mapped out on one spread has been very helpful. Looks like it's not going to be too long until I have to make a term 4 timeline. Thank you for watching though, team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you wanted to see more from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!